The Trackmania Grand League World Cup was a success, and one of the players who had the best success at that tournament is the runner-up from Great Britain. He's the former world champion from 2016. Pack, it's a pleasure to welcome you back, and first of all, congratulations on that silver medal. And how is life, man, now that everything is over, or at least the most prestigious tournament is over?
Yeah, no, life is good now. I mean, second place was a good result. I was happy with that, and yeah, it's nice to take time off the game again and just sort of relax a little bit after the intense few weeks that I had beforehand
Hmm.
going into the World Cup.
Yeah, tell people how draining, how hard is it actually to have such a big event because you want to be the best possible version of yourself. You want to have the best possible chance to win it. So, how is it once the Sunday is over, the match is finished, the interviews are finished, and you're like, now it's over?
I don't know. It's sort of like I went straight back to work the next day, so it was a bit of like a kick in the teeth. Like I've done so well in this tournament. I've reached a super high, and then like okay, I'm back to work. I think next time I need to take a break afterwards as well, just to really digest what's just happened. But yeah, it was the events themselves. They're draining. There's so much time that you put so much mentality into the matches, and there's so much going on throughout each match that you're just so focused on getting through them and doing your best. So I think that's the main thing for me. I love the competitions though, so that's my favorite thing about it. So yeah, it's tough.
You had a tough semi-final as well, facing Masa, Kappa, and Scrappy. You came victorious out of that one. If you are to sum up that semi-final, how did it go for you? How did it start? How did it end? What are the takeaways that you have?
Trying to remember what it was like. It felt like a high pressure situation. I knew like Scrappy Massa, they could like perform crazily or they could be really bad. So I knew that was coming. I kind of expected the first part of that because obviously they've put so much time and effort into it. So I thought there's no chance that they're gonna bottle it now. So they're gonna come out like flying. Kappa, as always, he's gonna be a tough contender. He's always consistent and he's always fast. So that was always going to be in the back of my mind going into that semi-final. And I felt like it started well for me. I got the lead that I wanted, I think fairly early on, and I sort of just performed well on each of the tracks. I think when it got to the later stages of like tracks 4 and 5, I always get into my head. I don't know. I feel like that's where I start to flag a little bit. And if I carry it on, I carry it on. But at that point, those kind of maps they're just quite late on. They need to be like my best tracks and for me to keep my momentum going. But I always seem to sort of flag there. So I think that's where I probably would have halted a little bit. And then I think maybe track 6 again. I went and I must have won it on track 6, but I felt confident in that semi and it felt good to get through it
Mm.
the way I did because then it got gave me the confidence I needed to go into the grand final.
Yeah, because you played semi-final number two, so after your semi-final is over, it's basically straight into a grand final. You're gonna play against CarlJr, the biggest favorite, Afi, who challenged CarlJr in his semi-final, and then Kappa, who is a former world champion himself. How did you view that final before it started? Did you even have time to think about who the players are gonna be like, or is it like, okay, let's jump into the server, let's start the match?
Um, I mean, I've watched the semi beforehand, so I knew Carl and Afi were through. I knew Afi looked good in that semi. Um, he sort of put on his best performance at that time to get to the grand final. I mean, Papu and Aurel didn't have the best performance, so I wasn't thinking, oh, okay, Afi's going to be like a top contender. But saying that he was really good in that semi, so he could have done the final as well, and proved everyone wrong. But yeah, I did have time to think briefly. Oh, okay, I've got Carl and Afi. In my one, obviously, it's between Kappa and Massa that final round, and it was sort of, I'm thinking the entire time, I'm like, right, we're either gonna have Arctic Spit band, which is Kappa's, or we were gonna have Circles, which is Massa's band, and I was like, which one would I rather play? and I'd rather play opposite circles because I hate arc to split. So I was like, oh my God, okay, if Kappa gets through, I have a better chance. And then that final turn from Kappa was an absolute joke, so I couldn't believe it. And yeah, there wasn't much time after that to really think. I was like, wow, that was insane. The times were ridiculous. So I was just like, well, we're straight into the final. We had our little group call beforehand, me, Afi, Carl, and Kappa just sort of chatting a bit. Kappa and Afi, I think, were a lot more silent in that. Kappa was very focused,
Mm,
and I was just chatting in
mm,
it. Really, I enjoy the little conversations we have before matches. It's
mm.
quite fun. Obviously, I'm still very nervous before these finals, but chatting your way through it with your competitors is quite a good thing. And obviously, with them being friends as well, it's quite easy to do that. So yeah, it's quite a chilled atmosphere before the final, but still very, very nervous before it, as always.
Yeah, because I saw you at let's go back to Trackmania Grand League Beta season, and there was a grand final there. I have filmed this moment of Kappa just basically holding him, being dead silence, and you and Brent stands around and chats and just have fun. So you are a guy who basically you don't look nervous. It seems like it's just a normal day for you. But what is going inside your head before the most important match of the season? Arguably, if you won it, it could be the most important match of your career.
Oh, it's more you've practiced enough. You know the tracks, you know you can do them without crashing, you know you can be fast on them. It's just about doing it in a match.
Mm.
And I think I try and get it into my head that I can do it. Try and not be too shaky. Obviously, before these big events on stage and stuff, you get very shaky. And I just enjoy talking before it. If you're dead silent, then I don't know, it's just there's no point really being there
Mm,
in my eyes for me if I was silent.
mm.
Other people have their own ways of, handling these kind of things, but I always like talking a little bit here and there and just thinking right about what I need to do. And that's kind of what I do before these finals.
Going into the grand final, I had or if we talk about what CarlJr said before the grand final, he said that he don't want to give you the sort of momentum base. He don't want to get you started, and you basically started off with winning the first round there, and he was like, "Oh no, this is not good." What was your thinking then once you saw that? It's a good start for me.
But yeah, I won the first round. I was like, great, sorted, we're good. And then I just bottled it, completely bottled it. I couldn't get anything else going in on that map. Nothing seemed to work. It was just a real frustration, really, because I feel like I've done that on the first round and I should have just carried on going, or I should have just carried on, not crashing.
Mm,
There's so many times where I thought, these tracks aren't that hard and I should be doing my own game, but it just didn't happen a lot of the time. And yeah, it's a similar thing with him. If he gets momentum, then you're kind of screwed. And that's literally what I thought on map two.
yeah.
Because I kind of threw away the win on the first round because on the last part of the circle's identity, you have the transition from the ramp onto the bit of road before the freewheeling. My car bounced and I just had the wrong trajectory, so my car did bounce. I lost grip, got airtime just before the freewheeling, which meant Kappa and Carl could overtake me. I think if I won that first round, I would have had a lot more confidence on that track. Whereas after that first round, nothing sort of paired up.
Mm.
And then obviously Carl got the momentum on the round one. Then he got a momentum on round two for clutching it again. And then at that point, what he did a point four and a point five, and you're not going to exactly beat that unless you're on ridiculous form. And he beat my PB, so this is it's very difficult to beat that. So yeah, at that point when he got the momentum, I really thought, oh God, here we go again. It was just like I can't let this happen. Like he can't go and walk a final
Mm.
because then everyone would just be like, oh my God, he's so amazing and all that sort of stuff, which he is.
Yeah.
I can't take that away from him. He is the best. He is the greatest of all time. But you need to give him a challenge, otherwise everyone is just going to be loving him too much.
Yeah, I have to be honest as well. Once I saw he won 4 rounds on the same map, I was like, well, GG, let's start preparing these winning tweets of CarlJr. And then I was like, what is happening on the next map? Well, Pack is winning 4 rounds himself. So how do you turn around from seeing one player win 4 rounds and then you do it yourself, because you speak about momentum being so important, but you turn it around on one map.
Well, that's the thing. When one map ends, the new one
Yeah.
starts. That's where you get your time to rethink your strategy and rethink what you're doing. And the warm up I had in on Semiramis was pretty good. I literally just said to myself, do that again. Like, just do it again. So this obviously the starts to me are always very important. So on that track especially, it's really important. And just seeing the number one on my car constantly kind of puts you in training mode. You're thinking, okay, that's all you see in training.
Mm.
So you sort of just carry that on. And I when I see the number one in the car, it sort of spurs me on to keep it. And yeah, it went really well on that map. I don't know, I did pretty good times. I mean, I did a point 0.3, a point 0.6, point 0.5, and maybe a point 0.4, but I think that's pretty good times to be consistent on. And yeah, I just made sure that I was winning every round and just got to do what the GOAT did. Do exactly the same as him and get back into that final and just keep it entertaining really as well, because otherwise you don't want to see someone just walking through it.
Mm. And it was clear after you won 4 rounds and CarlJr had done the same, that at least in my eyes, that it was going to be a battle between you two. Carl said that this was maybe the strongest performance from him in a grand final, and likewise he said for you the level was insane. How would you sum up the battle with CarlJr? You essentially battled with the greatest of all time, and he said that that was maybe his strongest final.
Yeah, no, it was a really strong final. I think he's got the ability to just stay in every single round, where that's still something I could work on. I take it into the Grand League, like things like that. I can stick in it. But when it comes to cup mode, I do like winning rounds and things like that, and I do like pushing it a little bit further. Whereas he's always there. And when it's a final that he can do that, where it's not always the same person winning, it's quite easy for him to do that. Whereas when I took it back and when I caught up to him in points, he had to start pushing it a little bit. But then again, Kappa picked it up on the next track because that was a really good one for him. So then the points between me and Carl were staying really close. And then it got to Bicycle, and that one is one of my best maps, one of Carl's best maps. So it comes down to that really, and just sort of who could do it at the time. And me winning, I think I won two of the first rounds on that one in a row, so I got me to in front of Carl, and then uh some weird crashes came for me. Like I've never hit the tree, and I hit the tree I think in one of the rounds, and then the last round I had a bad start and a bad end. And Carl ended up winning the close round where we were all on. I think he did a point oh 0.01 and I finished in fourth with a point oh 0.07, which was ridiculously close. And that obviously got him to finalist. And when you
Mm.
clutch two rounds like that to put you to
Yeah.
finalist and the next track, I mean the momentum's in your court really.
Mm.
All you have to do is stay in the round, and it's slalom. So I mean he's playing probably the three of the best players on it. And so that's going to be in his mind at that point. But he just needed to not crash, and that's literally what he did.
Mm.
And I crashed because I knew I had to win to keep it going. So yeah, I feel like it definitely was a final with me and him against each other, and it was probably our strongest performances against each other in a final.
Mm.
100%. Like he didn't crash, I think, once, and I crashed a fair amount, but that's my normal game. So yeah, it was an intense final between us,
Mm.
and I definitely agree with him that it was our best against each other.
Mm. If you go back to the final round of him closing out the finalist mode, you crashed, Kappa crashed, so it was essentially just Afi challenging him. What do you think about after you crash and you know that you can check this sort of updates? You see, CarlJr has not crashed. Are you like praying for Afi to win it? Are you accepting that, okay, I'm not going to be a world champion? Or are you just
Well,
driving
no,
to the finish line?
you're praying that Afi's gonna win it. That's all in all honesty. You crash, you make the mistake yourself. You think you're an idiot. How can you crash in that corner at such a intense time? You sort of accept that you have lost it yourself, and then if anyone saves you, it's like your moment to take it, and it wasn't my time to win,
Mm.
clearly. So I mean that's fine. I kind of threw it away myself in that moment, but at the end of the day, it was still another part of the track to go, and anything could happen. Plus, he won with a good time, so I mean you can accept it like that as well. I
Mm.
mean, I did a point four though on the last round when I got through, and I was a bit fuming at that. But at the end of the day, I threw away my chance, and he was consistent throughout the entire final. So, oh, and the group stage and everything else. So I think it was a deserved win for him, obviously.
Mm.
But I would have loved to have.
Mm.
Yeah, it happens.
But after the event, the sort of narrative is, of course, that CarlJr. once again winning it, four-time world champion. Now he's won basically everything, and the narrative is, of course, he's the greatest of all time. But do you feel that maybe people forget what you have achieved? It's four grand finals in a row at the World Championship. It's four grand finals that I think it's only you, CarlJr. and Twin who has done four consecutive grand finals at the World Cup together. So what does this achievement mean for you? And you are, like I said in the previous interviews with you, you are one of the greatest of all time, and this just sort of backs up that statement. So, how happy are you with this second place compared to all the other achievements?
I mean, the second place is good. I rate it highly, of course. It's better than. Well, I mean, it's not a win, so I don't know if I could call it better than victories like Gamers Assembly and stuff like
Mm.
that. But it definitely is. Obviously, these are the most trained events, so coming top two in the world at something is unbelievable. I think it's something that should be rated highly. Obviously, not being a world champion and not having it consecutively and all these sort of things, it it does overshadow sort of I guess a lot of what I do, but I feel like people do recognize that
Yeah.
I am up there with Carl. I'm just not winning everything like he does. I am not like the guy of Trackmania and stuff like that. He wins everything. He's done every single event. I haven't always had time and things like that. I mean, I can't take anything away from he's won everything that he's ever done.
Mm.
And I'm near that. I'm not that. He's got way more talent in the game than I do. It's that simple. That's unbelievable how much skill he has. So yeah, I feel like in cases, I guess some people do maybe forget, but then again, not everyone's so like coming forward and saying it when I'm in an event. It's always like, oh, Carl's an event, that's crazy.
Mm.
And then it's like, oh, and maybe I'm there as well. I don't know. I don't know really what it is. I don't really follow too much of the chatter
Mm.
most of the time anyway. So I hope people do see that I am there and I am like a force
Mm.
with him. But if they don't, they don't. I mean that's it at the end of the day. I do want to have like a legacy in this game. I do want to come away from it eventually and be like, that's what I did in there. These are my achievements. I can say that I was, the top two. I was the second best of all time.
Mm.
Things like that. That would be amazing to say and come away from. But yeah, that's that really.
Mm. Yeah, and you're on a good road to it. I mean, maybe it's only Frostfuel ahead of you for that second place at the moment, but you are playing this game. He is not, and CarlJr. said that he hoped that it's not going to be 3 years until the next World Cup. And I assume, as a competitive player yourself, you also hope for a World Cup to come back next year. But if you are to sum up this return of the World Cup, we had open qualifiers from 8 players. We had 8 players advancing from Checkmate Grand League. We had a group stage of 6 matches, and then a single elimination bracket with semi-final and grand final. What is the takeaways? Is there anything you want to see improved? Is there anything you want to highlight as really good from this event? What is? How would you sum it up? This event?
I think it's like the one of the best events at the moment. I think the Grand League has a long way to go in improving itself. There's obviously improvements coming with the new point system. And then obviously maybe there's new developments with the final stages. I mean, this is completely unconfirmed. I have no idea. I mean,
Yeah.
but it would be cool if there was improvements with the how the finals work. I feel like cup mode has just proven how important and vital it is to be in the game and in these important events. Like the Grand League is an important event itself. It could have it, or if they want to keep it different, they could change it in other ways. The World Cup, I think, has been the best competition for a while now. Online. Um, I can't wait for it to be offline. That'd be unbelievable when that returns. I think the format completely beats everything else. The way the seeding worked, the way the first four matches and then the reseeding worked. I think that was amazing. Um, I think pick and ban is great. Um, could have some more development in it. I'm not entirely sure with that really. I think it's great how it worked in the end, how we kind of decided because it was a lot of player input in to get it in the correct format.
Mm.
Um, I think less maps from the league itself, maybe two, two and two, and then take one of the best maps from the two pools, and then get five thingies,
Mm.
five from the public, like just afterwards to, make it feel newer. I mean, this season worked for me perfectly because I didn't have to practice that much tracks. I think that was the main benefit for me there because I don't always have the time to do that. So I think for me personally it worked, but everyone else obviously wanted new tracks. I mean, I wasn't against it. It just meant more time I'd have to set aside. I mean, clearly it didn't look too great on the two new maps before the final anyway, so that was my bad again. But yeah, I think those types of things need working on, just the maps really. It's just making it newer and feel newer. But I think the World Cup was the best event really
Mm.
at the moment.
And it ended up with a funny moment. Of course, we had a face cam for this tournament, and that was one of the greatest things. But just out of curiosity, did you laugh because of the crashes, or did you maybe follow the Twitch chat and saw that okay, they're actually showing my cam instead of Kappa and Office cam?
Didn't know I was on there. I had no idea. I was watching them and I was like, I literally was just watching the final of them two, and I just thought, what the hell is going on? Like, how has it happened that much? How obviously it's a match for third. At that
Yeah.
point, Appy was kind of behind. It didn't really matter at that point. You've got to the final, you're winning either a grand or two
Hmm.
grand. I mean, still great amount
Yeah.
of money, and you're in the final. You could get to a podium, blah blah blah. But when when the crashes like that were happening. I just thought it's hilarious. And I sort of just loosened up at that point. I mean, I've finally got through. It's good. It's a good time to see what the other guys were doing. And I was laughing at what was going on. It was so funny.
Well, you said that it's finally good to relax in Trackmania again in the start of the interview. But for me, as a guy who follows the competitive scene, I have seen that you have signed up for a ZrT Trackmania Cup that starts already tomorrow. We are recording this on a Friday. And it's not like a bad team you're signed up with. It's Trackmania Grand League players in Spam, who has reached the semifinal before, and it's a Grand League player in Massa. So tell people, how serious are you taking it? Is it maybe more of the approach of CarlJr, just having fun? Is it more of the approach of Papu, Gwen, and Aurel? Let's get this title, let's get this W. Tell people, what can we expect from the international hope at the ZrT Trackmania Cup 2021?
The international hope. Oh wow. Yeah. I think it's lack of hope, to be honest. Obviously I've signed up with Tim and Massa. Obviously signing up together, we were confident in what was going to happen, and then I don't know, just none of us have really. Well, obviously, Tim and Massa have trained. They are streamers. There's content for them to do. They can do all this sort of stuff. After the World Cup, I went on a work. Oh, I had to go in work in Liverpool, so I had no PC for a week. I've come back on the Friday, literally straight to bed. Saturday. And Sunday, I don't know, I had no time. I don't know. I was doing, oh no, yeah, I had no time Saturday and Sunday. And so Monday, Tuesday,
Mm.
Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, I looked at the maps Monday. I looked at two of the maps Monday. I looked at one of the maps Tuesday. Wednesday, I was busy. Yesterday, I was busy. Today, I'm doing an interview, and I've been busy. So I don't really know. It's for me. I'm going to be learning most of the tracks tomorrow. So I don't think there's much of a hope. Obviously it's Tim's birthday tomorrow as
Oof.
well, so in the daytime he's doing his plans, and then obviously he's got the
Yeah.
ZRT in the evening. Not ideal.
Mm.
Sunday we'll see if we make it to Sunday. I mean, it'd be cool if we did, but either way, I'm not too. I don't think we're bothered as a team to make it to Sunday. It's just a bit of fun. It's a bit of content for them. I'm there to have a laugh. It is what it is.
Mm.
The finals are also on my birthday in the evening.
Oof.
I never envisaged the finals being on a Thursday, to be honest. So I've just, this is a completely fun event.
Mm.
It's a trio competition. Uh, Next year is the one that matters. This is just a bit of fun for everyone, I think, to be honest.
Mm.
I mean, some of the French guys can get a win if they wanted. I mean, it's going to be a medal on their player profile that they've won ZRT, but I don't know, it's going to be, for me, it's going to be one that whoever wins it, they deserve it, obviously, but this is a year that I'm just having fun.
Mm. But for maybe someone who doesn't understand it, can you tell people why you bring up next year already? Why is that important compared to this year? What is the big gap that makes one event in over almost 12 months so important compared to an event that is taking place in almost 12 hours?
Well, the next year one is in a stadium in France, and this one is in my bedroom, where it's going to be 35 degrees or something ridiculous. So, yeah, no, I can't wait for the one next year. I really want to go to the arena. I really want to go to France again and just have fun and see everyone else. So, obviously, next year I'm going to put loads of effort into it. And this year I just haven't had time.
Mm. Well, what you had time to do was to speak with me for 30 minutes. So I don't know if Massa and Spam is going to be mad at you, but at least I'm appreciative of you taking so much time to speak with me. And once again, congratulations at that second place at the World Cup. And I think it's time to bring up this narrative that you are also one of the greatest of all time. And I mean, CarlJr get enough spotlight, so it's time to bring up what is going on behind him. And certainly you are the front runner for that. Greatest of
Yeah,
all time
well,
behind him.
we try to do it, but yeah, thank you for the interviews. It's great to have you about and doing these and keeping the community up to date with what the players actually think and who the players actually are nowadays, because there's so many new ones about. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good one for you doing that, and thank you for having me as always. It's always appreciated to get these call ups.
Mm. Thanks for the kind words. And for people that want more ZrT Cup interviews, well, you can stay on this channel. And maybe we can see Pat coming back here for another ZrT interview once he has qualified to play the final on his birthday and maybe award himself and give himself a present to lift that trophy up on his birthday, yeah?
I don't know. There's a lack of chance of that.